What are the symptoms of gluten sensitivity? If you haven't been feeling yourself, then you may have been asking this question. If that sounds familiar, then you are in the right place. Not only am I here to answer that question for you, but I'll give you some insight on how to actually handle all of this. Take it from somebody who knows this topic personally. Let's get started. Hi, I'm Dr. Kelly Shockley, Doctor of Cause, Chiropractic, board certified in sports medicine and specialized in clinical nutrition. In this video, we're going to be answering the question, what is gluten intolerance? There is a lot of confusion around this topic, so we are going to clear the air. Then we're going to cover one of the biggest challenges you face when dealing with a gluten sensitivity. And finally, I'll be sharing with you the most effective way to remove gluten from your diet that won't leave you looking at labels for hours on end at the grocery store. Let's dive on in. What is gluten intolerance first and foremost? Gluten intolerance itself is a fairly common concern. It's characterized by an adverse reaction to gluten, which is a protein that's found in wheat and barley and rye. There are several causes of gluten intolerance, including celiac disease, non-celiac gluten intolerance, and also wheat allergies. So here's the thing. There is a lot of different debate in the world of gluten. You know, you can talk to people who are like, well, way back in Jesus' time, nobody had issues with gluten. That's just true. And it was a staple for a long period of time. So how come all of a sudden, like, this is a more modern time type of a problem that we are having? It's not something that is just now being diagnosed. It is a new world type of a problem. So what allowed this to actually happen? And in the world of gluten intolerance, what we see is there's two different sides of the equation of explanation for why this has come about. Now, speaking here in America, when we look at our gluten-containing grains, specifically more wheat, what we see is compared to ancient day grains, it has been modified so many times that instead of only having 12 chromosomes of ancient wheat, it now has 48, which that's old data. I haven't even looked at the most recent, but within the last decade, it was 48 chromosomes. So the people who are thinking that maybe this is part of the problem, their explanation for this is that it's been changed so much that we as a species don't have a digestive enzyme that recognizes even what that wheat is anymore, so we can't properly digest it. Now, this would be fine if our guts were working correctly, because what would happen if there's a substance that comes in that we don't have a digestive enzyme for, and the gut is intact and everything's working the way it should, then that substance honestly will just be passed through the digestive system and come out on the other side, creating no detriment. However, we know at least 80% of Americans have guts that are leaking stuff into the bloodstream that shouldn't be there. You see, your digestive system is your suit of armor on the inside of you. It doesn't allow anything into the body, which once something comes into your bloodstream, now it's technically in your body. It doesn't allow anything there that shouldn't be there if it's doing its job correctly. But because of the world we're living in, the toxins we're exposed to, all the chemicals that end up in our food, the amount of stress we have, the lack of, exercise and sleep and proper hydration, all of these different factors. Oh, let's not forget to mention antibiotic use and other medication use. All of these different factors put stress on the digestive system and can create opportunity for it not to work properly, which ultimately then allows for things to enter into the bloodstream that shouldn't be there. So now when you get this altered form of wheat that hasn't even been digested into the bloodstream, the next line of defense your body has is your immune system, which 70% of your immune system is located in your digestive system. It sits in the blood vessels right behind your digestive system as your second line of defense. So when something comes in that it doesn't recognize, which would be this new version of wheat because it wasn't even digested, right? It recognizes it as a foreign invader. And now it sends out an alert like, hey, there's a foreign invader. We have to respond to this. So that is the first thought process of why we're having issues with gluten, is that it's been altered so much, we don't have a digestive enzyme that even recognizes what it is. And the reason why it's a problem is because majority of people have digestive systems that are not working correctly. If they were working correctly, this wouldn't really be an issue. Then there's the other side of the equation that goes even further to say that not only have our wheat crops been altered so much, or our gluten-containing crops altered so much, they also have been GMO'd for pesticides, specifically Roundup. Initially, this was supposed to create opportunity for farmers to use less pesticide. Here's the problem. When you are using pesticide, you're exposing pests to pesticide, right? And so in order to survive, they have to overcome what they're being exposed to. And ultimately, what has ended up happening is that these crops that are quote unquote Roundup ready, or supposed to be GMO'd to this pesticide, which ultimately what that means is you can pour pesticide on this crop and the crop won't die. Okay. So what is happening now is they're using far more pesticide than what they ever have before. And if it was truly Roundup ready, the crop would repel the pesticide, but it doesn't. It absorbs it. So the other side of the camp is that it's not necessarily the gluten that these people are reacting to, but it's the pesticide that they're consuming when they consume these crops. That's poison. Absolutely, when that enters into the body's going to be like, this is a foreign substance. It shouldn't be here. But again, when Monsanto first came out and was talking about like, when we did GMO things, because the body doesn't have a digestive enzyme to recognize Roundup or the glycosylates, it should pass through the system. But here's the problem. Again, people's digestive systems in America are not working the right way. And when you put substances like pesticide into the digestive system, it stresses the digestive system out and is part of why the digestive system may not be working in the first place. So the other theory is it's more the pesticide that the immune system is reacting to than it is the gluten itself. Which one is it? I don't know. It's probably both. And the biggest fact is that digestive systems are not working the right way, they're not being able to protect us from what it is that we're consuming. Celiac disease is an entirely different beast in and of itself. That is an autoimmune reaction that is provoked by the proteins that gluten breaks down into. Okay, and then the immune system ends up attacking itself. Now, there still could be part of this underlying that precipitates that whole process. But the fact of the matter is, gluten intolerance means you don't do well with the protein that these grains that contain gluten, wheat, barley, and rye, you don't do well being exposed to them. Now, whether it's the protein or the pesticide, I'll leave that up to you. But what I can tell you is all of my patients who've ever traveled over to Europe and actually even into Africa that are not celiac, mind you, because my celiac patients don't even want to attempt it, right? People who have celiac have severe reactions, can end up in the hospital. It's not something they're going to monkey around with. But people who have non-celiac gluten intolerance or a gluten sensitivity or a wheat allergy, a little bit different story. So they go over and they will be tempted because it's not earth-shattering if they actually consume some gluten. They probably won't feel very awesome, but they're not going to end up in the hospital. And guess what? Every single one of them doesn't have issues with consuming products that contain gluten outside of this country. Why is that? Well, they don't use the same products that we do here. They use an entirely different strain of wheat. They do not douse their crops with all the pesticides that we do. So it still doesn't answer, is it pesticide or is it gluten? But the fact of the matter is, my patients who have a gluten intolerance, not celiac, can go elsewhere and be fine, have none of the symptoms that generally show up that they do when they consume gluten in America. Now, I'm super curious. Have you heard any of this thought process of like, this is what's behind gluten intolerance? Let me know your thoughts, your feedback down in the comments below. I can't wait to read those later. Now, what is the biggest challenge you're facing in determining if you have a gluten sensitivity or just maybe you already know? And that is the fact that normally you have a delayed reaction to when you've been exposed. This is what makes it really difficult for you to understand if you even are gluten intolerant in the beginning, okay? If you're suspecting that you might be, and we're going to go over some of those common symptoms here in a moment, which also are part of why this is not easy to figure out. But the biggest challenge is it's a delayed reaction. This is not your classic allergy where you get an immediate reaction, okay? This is an intolerance or a sensitivity, which often means that that set of symptoms that are going to show up of your body saying, hey, what you just did was offensive, is delayed. And it can be delayed up to 72 hours easily. I've even read research where it shows sometimes the delay is almost 2 weeks. So how do you know that 3 days from now, the reason why you're feeling the way that you are is a result of the gluten that you consumed today? It makes it difficult. The other thing that makes it difficult is because with sensitivities, you don't get your classic symptoms you would expect. These are not your classic allergy symptoms of like itchy eyes, runny nose, swelling of the throat or the airways. No, you can have digestive symptoms, okay? Those are the common ones that people would expect to experience if you're eating something that your body doesn't agree with. So digestive system complaints are going to be everything you would expect. Bloating is a big one. Constipation, diarrhea, gas, reflux. Those are all classic ones. But here's the really fascinating thing about when a foreign invader is allowed to breach through and end up in your bloodstream within your digestive system. This is what complicates sensitivities. What we know now within the last handful of years is that reaction to the immune alert saying, hey, there's a foreign invader here. That reaction can happen locally in the gut, and those people will experience digestive types of complaints. But it can also go elsewhere. So if it goes to the joints, you may have aches and pains and like arthritis types of symptoms. If it goes to your thyroid, you may have more thyroid types of symptoms with, not being able to regulate temperature, or having issues with weight gain, weight loss, hair falling out, not feeling energized. Gluten has a high affinity for creating immune reactions within your nervous system. So what that means is a lot of people who have gluten intolerance may not necessarily get the GI symptoms, but end up with brain health type symptoms. So a classic one that I get personally because I am intolerant to gluten, I have been since I was in high school. If I choose to consume gluten, I end up with a migraine headache. So for me, the very first sign that I get is a migraine or at least a very intense headache. And it's not one that normally responds to anything that I can do. I have to wait for my body to finish processing the gluten back out of my system. So let me tell you, I generally avoid gluten like the plague. Other people could experience brain fog, okay? Just living in that haze is a really common type of symptom that can show up as a result of being exposed to gluten when you're sensitive to it. But you can have issues with focus and concentration, memory. You can feel more irritable, just have more fluctuations in your mood. All of those could be the result of a gluten sensitivity. Now, here's the thing. If you choose to take gluten out of your diet, which we're going to talk about that strategy here in just a moment. If you take it out for even a couple of weeks and then you add it back in, something that's really fascinating about sensitivities. Initially, that reaction is delayed. But when you give your body a break and you allow it to heal, oftentimes when we add a food back in that we're sensitive to and the body doesn't like it, we've improved our body's ability to communicate that what we just did was offensive. And oftentimes you'll get a more immediate response after you've taken a break from it. So that's why for me, I can eat something and almost instantaneously have a migraine headache, which that's not how it was when I was in high school. Okay, of course, I felt like garbage all the time when I was in high school. So how did I even know? This is also not a sign of you becoming more sensitive, because some people are like, oh, if I take stuff out of my diet, then I can't eat anything and I'm just more sensitive. You're giving your body the ability to heal, and you're giving your body more ability to communicate to you when things are offensive. It shows up in the form of symptoms. The challenge is the world we're living in and our food supply and like convenience, restaurants, all of that, it's becoming more offensive. So you just have to choose. Do you want your body to be able to tell you what you just did was offensive and stay healthy longer? Or do you just want to go down the dwindling spiral and ignore the symptoms and feel like you can eat out without having a problem? It's a good question. Now, before I get into the most effective way for eliminating gluten that is not going to have you reading labels all over the place and spending hours at the grocery store, I want to take a moment, remind you to subscribe to my channel. Click that subscribe button, turn the notifications on, and hey, while you're down there, give me a big thumbs up if I'm doing a good job for you. I am producing videos regularly. In fact, I have done other ones about gluten already, but also videos around how do you improve brain health and gut health, immune health, you name it. All of these videos are designed to help teach you how to take back control of your health so that you can become invincible, more unstoppable, and achieve what I like to call total body mastery. So just click that subscribe button, turn those notifications on, and give me a big thumbs up. I appreciate the support. What is the most effective way for eliminating gluten out of your diet that won't have you spending hours on the grocery floor like my mom and I did back when I was in high school? The simple answer is to eat real food. I know that's not very helpful, but think about it. It's the truth of the matter. It's when we start eating foods that come in a package or are pre-done where we're starting to increase our risk of exposure to gluten or gluten-containing foods. If you purely eat food the way that it occurs in nature, that means you're going to be eating vegetables in their real form. You'll eat fruit in its real form. You'll eat meat in its real form. All of them have not been compromised. So the Whole30 diet minus these grains, okay, because we know when you consume different grains, the wheat, the barley, the rye, which there's a multiple list of what those are, you're going to be risking your exposure to gluten, okay? But if you just eat real food, you don't have to worry about reading labels, right? That is honestly the easiest way for eliminating gluten. Eat food the way it occurs in nature. And if you need help with what that looks like, shop in the perimeter, minus the bakery. The bakery is a no-go zone. Okay, that's a lot of gluten-containing products over there. The perimeter is your produce section and your meat department. The only aisle that's really safe are your fats and oils aisle, okay? Not all of those are safe either. Just stick with the healthy fats. Your coconut oil, grass-fed butter, which will be in the perimeter, your avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil. Those are the only fats that we use in our household because we know those are the safest, okay? Generally, bulk section seems to be in the perimeter as well. That's where you can get all of your nuts and your seeds, which should be safe as long as they're not seasoned with anything. You want raw nuts and seeds. They have the most nutrient value for you anyway. So that is the easiest way to approach this. If you want more guidance of what does this actually look like, then all you need to do is go down into the description right below this video. Click on it, open it up, scroll down, look for the gut repair meal plan, okay? If you eat for gut health, you're definitely not going to be consuming gluten. So this is a meal plan. It's a week long to give you a snapshot of what does this look like? What are foods I can eat? Because I know one of the things that's so incredibly frustrating for people when they start to eliminate gluten is what am I supposed to eat? I promise you there's more out there than just bread, cracker, and pasta. I promise. Okay, take it from somebody who's done this since I was in high school, and I've been in your shoes. I remember what it's like. My mom literally and I sat for hours on the grocery floor trying to read labels and figure out what I could eat because I was also in high school. What are you supposed to send a kid to school for lunch when you can't eat any of these wheat-containing, gluten-containing products? Can be done. It's simpler than what you think, okay? So go click that link. All you have to do is tell me where to send it. You'll have immediate access. It gives you a 7-day meal plan that you don't have to follow. It was designed to not have you be in a kitchen every single day either, okay? I'm a very busy soul. I believe you are as well. So you can eat healthy, home-cooked meals, but not have to cook every single day. But you also have all the recipes. So if you want to just start incorporating these recipes in, then you are going to be living a healthier, gluten-free life that's going to start restoring your health so that you can be healthier down the road. I hope this was helpful. I look forward to seeing you on a future episode. God bless.